Welcome to The Insider at Heritage Museums and Gardens, where every other week we chat with guests and museum staff about all the exciting things that are happening in season here at the museum. This year, the museum is celebrating its 50th anniversary, so please plan to join us. My name is Judith Goetz, and I'm happy to be your host today. In this episode, we are speaking to Laura Swain, Senior Horticulturalist here at Heritage. Today we'll be talking about what's in bloom this spring. I hope I've got that right. I do not. What is your title?
So, horticulturist.
Horticulturist.
No, horticultural. So we always say the easiest way to remember is that horticulturist often have sore wrists. Horticulturist.
Oh, well, there you go. So I think people are actually learning something from my very overt mistake here.
Very common mistake, not a big deal.
Well, I think that's a good way to kind of start with the spring. Everything's new, right? So as I look around Cape Cod and I look around Heritage Museums and Gardens, obviously we've seen a terrific amount of, we didn't have the snow this year that I think not as much that other parts of the country did enjoy. But we didn't really get the winds as bad as we have in years past. So it's actually been a delightful winter here.
It has. I couldn't echo that more.
And I would assume that then changes or does it change anything for what you see in the spring?
Well, it definitely makes things a lot more exciting. We're seeing a lot of growth a little bit earlier on, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that our hydrangeas will be in full flower this June and July.
Oh, well, that's good news.
Yeah.
Because hydrangeas are terrifically impacted by poor weather.
Exactly, especially at this time of year, April to May. If we get any cold spells, that'll really negatively impact the hydrangea flowering season. So.
And from what I learned last year, and I know you can 100% correct me here, but is it because there are blooming buds that, can then be severely damaged?
Yes. So the flower buds have formed over fall and winter, and they start to emerge in the early spring. They're one of the first things to start to emerge. So if we get a cold spell in April, all those buds are killed. And you can see them out there now in late April. The buds are all starting to grow and emerge. So.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the only thing that we've got going on this year.
No, we've got so much more going on in this mid-spring. Everything's happening.
Now, what are you excited about when the spring starts? Everybody's got something, right?
Everything, yes. I think particularly for me, I am a huge Magnolia fan. And we have a wonderful collection of magnolias throughout the grounds. Specifically around the parade field, we have a couple of beautiful pink saucer magnolias that are starting to open up their fuzzy buds. They have really great fuzzy buds that we've been watching all winter, and now in the next week or two they should emerge with these beautiful 5-inch pink saucer-shaped flowers. So I'm definitely keeping my eye out for those.
Now, as we, of course, opening April 27th, but when we look at the entire spring as a season, are there periods that you're looking for certain types of flowers to emerge or certain types of plants to emerge?
Definitely, yeah. So we, starting in February, we are always amazed by the witch hazels. They open up in about February and they keep their flowers all the way through April. So they're just kind of starting to fade now, and they are just such a wonderful harbinger of spring with the shades of yellows, oranges, reds. We've also been watching our heathers in the heathers garden. So there's two types of heathers, some that flower in the winter and early spring and some that flower in the summer. So we've been keeping an eye out on all the ones flowering in winter in different shades of pink and white in our heathers garden, which is tucked away in the arbor bowl, for those of you that don't know.
Truth be told, I think I might be one of them. I did not realize that, yeah.
But other things that, we're watching out for are those, obviously the daffodils and the grape hyacinths that populate our bulb stream, which is one of our main attractions in the spring. And, with opening day, it usually will coincide. April 27th is about right on point. So we're not expecting.
Not expecting something to happen so soon, I would imagine.
Yeah. So the daffodils have are about to be in full flower, along with those grape hyacinths, and the bulb stream is definitely a sight to behold. I encourage anyone who hasn't seen it to come down and see it. It's worth the trip alone. And then after the bulb stream, it's just like a symphony of color from then on out. We have the Magnolias in early May, and the one of my favorite bulbs is actually Camas lily. Have you seen that one?
No.
Do you know what that is? So it's a bulb similar to hyacinths and daffodils, and it comes up with these gorgeous star-shaped blue flowers in a big cluster. And we have a lot of those throughout the grounds, so definitely keep an eye out for them. Camas lily. And after that, like I said, everything really kicks into gear.
Now, one of the first things that we see is something that we kind of laud here at Heritage, and that's the entire Rhododendron Festival, which starts to come up in the middle of May, which is still springy.
Definitely, yes, definitely.
But
especially some of the earlier flowering rhododendrons that Charles Dexter used as parents for his hybrid. So like Rhododendron fortunii is one of the first to flower, and there's a ton of them on our trails, and they start the first or second week of May.
Now, they're pink.
They're pink.
And I have seen some shades of pink, like the hydrangea. This is getting a little bit technical, but like the hydrangea, does it change because of the acidity in the soil?
No, actually not. So any of the variation that we have in color is due to hybridizing that Charles Dexter did and Jack Cowles after him, using different parents or selecting different seeds. And their traits and then breeding them. So we have a huge variety of colors and sizes and scents here with our rhododendron collection.
Now, we've been talking a lot about Charles Dexter, and for those that don't know anything about who he is and why this would be important, why is he important? And why was he here?
So Charles Dexter bought the property in 1921, and he really kind of set everything in motion to make Heritage what it is today. I think so. He was a hybridizer of fruits and vegetables first, and then he started working on hybridizing rhododendrons. And for him, that involved collecting them from all over the world, especially Asia, where a lot of the cold hardy varieties come from. So he really planted the grounds, and he actually was one of the first people to hire a landscape architect to design pathways throughout the grounds that really provide the backbones for what Heritage later became and is today.
Wow. So, I mean, that's, hugely important to understanding why the rhododendrons are here and why they are significant.
Exactly. Most of our, gorgeous old 30-foot tall rhododendrons were planted by him in the 20s and 30s. So they're definitely a huge legacy.
Now, speaking of legacies, I know there is a tree here. It's actually very close to my office that is hugely popular. And for those that know things about our gardens, they know of the Fringe Tree.
Yes, and that kind of is the end of spring, I always think of, when the Fringe Tree starts to flower. That sort of signals the beginning of summer. And that's usually the first or second week of June. So that's Chionanthus virginicus. It's the Fringe Tree is the common name, and it was, we think, planted by Dexter in the 30s, and it is immaculate. It's one of the biggest specimens I've ever seen.
I think Dr. Michael Durr, has been here, and he's had some things to say about the Fringe Tree as well.
Yes, there's a little blurb in his book about our Fringe Tree.
So it is significant, and for those that have not seen a Fringe Tree actually bloom, you've got to be on it. Like, make your plan to be on it. And when it does happen, it only lasts for, a week at the most?
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks at the most. Yeah.
And then it just kind of deflowers and it just becomes a tree thereafter.
Exactly. Just a beautiful green tree. It has great form, but those flowers are definitely the showstopper.
Now, if you had to pick things that you would think people should actually be excited about to come and see and visit here in the spring, what path would you give them? Would you say walk the entire garden and you'll see different things as you
I
walk
tell
along?
everyone always to walk the entire garden. There's definitely something hiding in every crevice, but especially I think walking the main promenade path where a lot of our magnolias are, and also, obviously, one of the biggest known plants in spring is the flowering cherries and the flowering crab apples. So Between the magnolias, the crabapples, and the cherries, you can see a lot of them from our main promenade, as well as the bulb stream. And then, of course, if you're coming for the rhododendrons, you have to go off the main path, and you could pretty much walk all of the paths and see rhododendrons on each one.
Now, there is something actually spectacular that is happening in the gardens. Not that it doesn't happen every year. However, this particular year, we will be opening up a brand new garden section at some point, sometime after May.
Right.
And it is called the McGraw Family Garden of the Senses. Any kind of sneak peek that you want to give us?
Sneak peek. Oh, boy. We're really excited about this garden. Obviously, for our horticulture team, it's a very exciting event and going to be a very special place in the future. I don't know if I can give you any sneak peeks yet, though. We are planting more rhododendrons, so keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, I think everyone's going to be blown away in all of the senses. We're going to engage you in every sense, so just expect a lot.
Well, one other sense, too, is for those that missed the blades on the windmill, that will be returning well, and so that'll enhance the entire physical
Definitely.
atmosphere.
It's a big year
well.
here.
It is a big year.
Anniversary,
50th
Garden of
anniversary.
the Senses,
Absolutely.
Windmill blades.
Now, anything you want to give us a sneak peek for? You will be joining us again to talk about things that are coming up in the summer, and there's, I'm sure, lists and lists.
There definitely are some things I always am keeping an eye out for are the peonies that start to open in late spring, early summer, the azaleas that just follow the rhododendrons, and then the mountain laurels are usually one of my favorites as well.
All right. For anybody who wants a little bit more information, I always advise people to check out Instagram because Laura actually does a large part of the photography. So you'll be able to see things as they bloom, and what she's seeing in the garden, hopefully you will see as well through social media.
Definitely.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Judith.
So you've been joining us for this episode of The Insider at Heritage Museums and Gardens. We've been talking to Laura Swain. Today's interview has been brought to you by the Arbella Insurance Foundation and Cape Cod 5, our 2019 season sponsors. You can hear more interviews like this one by finding us on iTunes. And of course, more information about Heritage Museums and Gardens and upcoming programming can all be found on our website at heritagemuseums.org. Until next time, thank you so much for listening.